But when you tell a story, so many parts of the brain are lit up, it's crazy. So you have the language areas, you have the visual areas, you have the auditory areas, you have the smell, taste areas, but you have also got a very interesting area which has got to do with motor functions, so movement. So as soon as you tell a story, it's like you suddenly lit up the entire Christmas tree, and it's so much more beautiful, and it is so much easier to be attentive.
Welcome to Think Deeply, Speak Simply, the podcast that explores the art and science of business communication. Sponsored by Present, the AI-powered platform transforming the way professionals share ideas and tell their stories. And now, here's your host, Rajat Mishra, CEO of Present and passionate advocate for clear and impactful communications.
A sharp mind is your greatest asset, especially when the stakes are high. As Tony Robbins said, energy flows where the attention goes. And when you harness your brain's potential, you can channel that energy into focus, clarity, and connection. And optimizing your brain isn't just for athletes or performers. It's a skill that anyone can learn, whether it's using breathing techniques to stay calm or leveraging the right hormones for creativity and confidence. Small adjustments can lead to significant improvements. Today, we'll explore how do you prepare your brain to excel in meetings. Our guest will guide us through the science behind the mental optimization, and he'll share actionable tips to increase our focus, enhance our communication, and improve our confidence. Whether you're looking to conquer pre-meeting jitters, spark creativity, or command attention in the boardroom, this episode has something for you. Get ready to elevate your game using your brain. So our guest today is David JP Phillips, author of High on Life. David brings a wealth of experience to the conversation with over 20 years studying human behavior, communication, and the science and art of storytelling. David, super excited to have you here. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to the Think Deeply, Speak Simply podcast.
Thank you. It is an absolute pleasure being here, man. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. David, so your journey is super inspiring. And you and I have talked before the show. Your work has helped leaders worldwide enhance their performance. So why don't we start with you sharing a little bit how you got to this point of writing High on Life and focusing on the brain?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. And let's fill this with practical tips for everyone that's listening so that they can use it and be inspired. Now, the thing is this, that I've been doing communication training for about 20 years. I have 3 TED Talks on the subject. They are among the biggest in the world. The storytelling one is the biggest one in the world on storytelling. So I have been coaching the likes of Google, Microsoft, Salesforce, companies all around the world on how to be brilliant storytellers using body language, voice, death by PowerPoint, etc., etc. I did that for the better part of 15 years, but I was missing the ultimate link, the last piece of the puzzle. I didn't know where to find it. It was eluding me. I found it, however, in myself when one day I was walking over a bridge with my wife and an emotion struck me, which I had never felt before. It's very rare that new emotions strike an adult person, but it happened. And I asked her, what do you think is going on? And she asked me what it felt like. And I said, this and that. And she said, that sounds like happiness, David. And that's when I realized that I hadn't been happy my 15 years. I'd literally forgotten how to be happy, because it then turned out that I was depressed, and I had been for 1.5 decades. I had been studying the biochemistry of the brain through sales and marketing for quite a while, so I kind of just applied those skills to myself, hacked my depression, took about 18 months. It's the best thing I've ever done in my entire life. Better than being born, better than buying a McLaren, better than getting married. Everything. Nothing comes close. Not being non-depressed or not being depressed. So, what I realized through this was that our internal communication supersedes our external communication. You can have the best freaking salesperson in the room. They use mirroring, they use body language, facial expressions, micro expressions. Oh my God, they are killing it. But if their internal communication sucks, oh, it'll tell, and they will see it, and the other customer, the buyer will feel it. So it all begins in yourself. You can see big football players, tennis players fail, not because they lack the skills of tennis or football, but because they lack of communicating with themselves.
Wow. That really struck me, David. 15 years, you didn't know you were not happy. And then that really struck you in that moment. So,
Yeah, sucks, man.
We've talked to so many experts, David, and most of the conversation is about that external communication, like you say, right? How do you pause, body language, voice intonation? Fascinating, this journey inside your brain and the internal communication. So take us a little bit deeper, right? Can you tell us a little bit about the science? What happens inside your brain when you're feeling pressure or feeling stressed?
Sure. Well, the short version of it is this: that the concentration of particular neurotransmitters and the combination of them in particular parts of the brain create our emotions. So I'll give a quick example. Mm-hmm. There's a neuropeptide called oxytocin. You may have heard of it. It's brought out when we hug, when we kiss, when we love, when we have eye contact. Now, the interesting thing with oxytocin is that it makes us more caring. It makes us more present. Okay? So if you want to be more caring and more present on stage or in a meeting, you should fill up with oxytocin before going into the meeting. Because if you don't, you're probably filled with dopamine. Dopamine is your highest concentration. That is your dominant substance. Now, dopamine is quite egoistical. Dopamine is literally the drug in your brain that goes, give me more, give me more, give me more, give me more, give me more money, give me a higher salary, give me a higher house, I want a better car, I want this, I want this, I want this. So to put it simply like this, if you go into a client high on dopamine, you're in it for yourself. But if you increase your oxytocin levels just prior to the meeting, you're in it for them. And we have all met those two salespeople, the one that's in it for themselves and the one that is actually there to help you. And the one that is actually there to help you is the one that we will come back to again and again and again. So the question then is, how can we increase oxytocin levels? Very easily. Scientifically proven. Spend 2 minutes looking at a video or looking at photos that makes you almost tear up. Could be, for me, it's when my daughter was 6 years old. She's running over the grass. She's just had her birthday. She looks like a princess. She's got the balloon after her. She's the joy of the world. I look at that, Rayat, and I cry, almost. Actually, you can picture me going out on a stage, 10,000 people, and the last thing I do before going out is I look at pictures of her. And then I hear my name. And on stage, we have David JP Phillips. And then I give my phone to the technician, and then I walk out. Because I chose who I wanted to be.
That's an excellent story. Are there other chemicals or drugs, David, that are also playing a part in our brain, apart from these two, as we're getting ready for high pressure situations and important meetings?
Sure, yeah. So you have, you've got 9 of them. So this is, oxytocin is the one that makes you present and caring, more human. And absolutely, I challenge both of you to try it, and also everyone listening, that even when you come home to your family, just spend 2 minutes looking at something like this, and you will hear them speak to you in a different way. You'll give them a hug in a different way. It is remarkably powerful. 2 minutes with oxytocin. But let's go for another one. Let's go for testosterone. So, studies have tells us that if you can increase your testosterone prior to a job interview, you are more likely to get the job. If you can increase your testosterone before a negotiation, you're more likely to walk away with a higher bid. And if you can increase your testosterone before a presentation, you are more likely to be listened to. So 3 separate studies showing the influence of testosterone in our ability to communicate. So let's put it like this. If you're standing outside of a meeting room or before a stage presence, and in your mind, you are saying to yourself, oh my God, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. One of the questions they may be asking, what could go wrong? What could go wrong? What could go wrong? You are literally lowering your testosterone levels in real time, because it has been proven that thoughts has the impact. The thoughts of winning or thoughts of losing impacts our testosterone levels negatively or positively. So if you go in with those thoughts, you've already messed your situation up, man. You will not succeed as well as if you increase your testosterone levels prior to going into your meeting.
Wow. And I can literally visualize what you're saying. I've been in these meetings, David, before going out, feeling anxious, lowering my testosterone, which I didn't even realize I was doing, and making it harder for myself. And also your idea of looking at a loved one's picture, tearing up, for me, it kind of fills me up with gratitude. And I think then you go into the meeting with a different kind of feeling. So really amazing points. So, many people listening to us, David, they are people who work in Fortune 2000 companies, and, they're scared of presenting and doing meetings, right? Or they're trying to improve their confidence. What other rituals could you suggest for them so that they go in, apart from the picture, that was a great idea, and telling yourself you can do it? What else do you suggest to get in the right headspace? Literally, right headspace.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So I call these the angel's or the devil's cocktail. So an angel's cocktail is where you use mental techniques or physical techniques to induce the substances that will help you become less nervous, more confident, more present. So the best angel cocktail for what you are telling me about people who are nervous is A, testosterone, increase it before you go in. Increase oxytocin at the same time. Increase GABA, G-A-B-A, is another neurotransmitter that you want to lower, okay? If you can increase all those three, then you're pretty well off. So how would you do this? Well, A, it has been proven that GABA, which is the brake of the brain, increases when we are mindful or when we meditate. Right? So scientifically proven, it happens. So imagine this. You have a person going to a presentation. What should they do? My recommendation would be what I do when I'm nervous, because I'm an introvert. I still hate presenting, even if I've done it 10,000 times. I spend 5 minutes. I spend 5 minutes meditating. That brings up my GABA. It also increases dopamine and lowers cortisol. Then I spend 5 minutes boosting my testosterone, maybe 3 minutes. I do that by stacking various scientifically proven ways of increasing testosterone. So I call this a stack of 5. So anyone listening to this, try this out. Step number 1, put on your headphones, listen to some kind of music that makes you drive your car too fast. Any music that makes you drive your car too fast without you knowing it happening, put that kind of music on. It has been proven that hard rock, like metal music, increases testosterone. Jazz music lowers testosterone. So listen to the right kind of music. Put that on. Now, I don't know, is this a video pod or not? Or is it just an audio pod?
Yeah, video.
Video, all right. So then you can, even if you're listening to this pod, you can see me. I stand up with my posture, chest out, hands out, and I do this gesture. And I walk around on stage, behind the curtain, not on stage, but behind the curtain, I do this, all right? I listen to the music, and then you have to add a testosterone amplifying breathing pattern, which sounds something like this. And in your head you go, come get me, come get me. Oh, I'm coming for you. Oh, I'm coming for you. Come get me, come get me. And you listen to that music, and then you just finalize the entire thing by standing down, doing what Tony Robbins says, anchoring. Take both your fists, bump them towards your chest, and do like a quiet or loud primal scream if it's sound isolated or not. But you ended off by going, "Argh!" If you combine all of those stacking 5 methods, you will increase your testosterone. But don't go up on stage with that, because people won't like it, because you are too cocky. You are too, nose up. So that's why you now finish off with oxytocin. So you spend 2 minutes looking at that photo of your daughter. You now have this beautiful combination of GABA, testosterone, oxytocin, and you feel invincible at the same time as you feel loving, which is the most beautiful combination of any man or woman on this earth. That's an angel's cocktail. Most people drink a devil's cocktail before going up on stage or in meetings.
And what is the devil's cocktail, David?
Well, it's self-induced levels of, you lower your testosterone levels by telling yourself that you suck, or this will suck, or this is bad, right? So that's the first thing you do. The second thing you do is that you walk around in a worried pace. Your breathing is very shallow and your breaths are very short. All of this is an indication to your brain that there is a threat around you. It doesn't know what the threat is. It could be a grizzly bear. It could be one person in a meeting room. It has no idea. But the way that you are currently breathing indicates that there's a threat. So cortisol levels are increased. So cortisol levels are increased. Testosterone levels are decreased. Now, the problem here is that if you let this run wild, adrenaline will also be increased. That will make you start shaking, and you'll get rashes, and you can hear it in the person's voice. All of this makes you even weaker, because you're scared that your nervousness will show. So you're in this snowball effect of a devil's cocktail, and then they go like, I have to remember this, I have to remember this, I have to remember this, I have to remember that. No, that is the last thing you should do before going up on stage. Spend the last 10 minutes optimizing your internal communication, and then go and rely on that. If you're in your best kind of mindset, your mind will also work at its best, and you will remember what to say at its best. Yes,
love that, David. Invincible and loving. What an amazing combination if we can all get there. So let's switch a little bit. We talked a lot about individuals, David, being good before presenting. A lot of our listeners also work in teams. So think of, corporate teams where there are 10 or 20 people working together in a room. So any suggestions or tips you have for in a team setting, how do you make sure your team is more effective when you're communicating? And also for leaders of teams, what can they do to make sure the teams are more effective in that group setting?
Sure, yeah. Great question. And the first answer would be, well, the same thing applies. If you go to your camera high on these 3 substances, GABA, testosterone, and oxytocin, they can feel it, they can see it from the other side. If you come to your camera low on dopamine, they can see it. What that means is that you are literally uninterested. You are not passionate. So why should they be passionate? If you don't find what you're doing motivational, why should they feel it? I have seen too many Teams and Zoom meetings, Rayat, and it is just profoundly bad in the way that how people present stuff in such an unpassionate way. So I'd say this. Find your passion as a speaker when you're doing a Zoom or Teams meeting. It doesn't matter, actually. It doesn't matter if you lose people, if they start turning off their cameras. Just see that as the fire to become like even more passionate, because it will be contagious to people.
Yeah.
So I'll say dopamine is more important in online meetings than in physical meetings. The second thing I want to say is a study that came out of Temple University in Finland, which showed that if you look into the camera at the person that you're talking to, similar oxytocin, they didn't measure oxytocin, but similar effects to oxytocin will be produced. So the worst thing you can have is like people going, they've got their screen there and they got the camera here and you're like, what on earth is going on? Like why would you even dream of having that angle? Or even worse, where you got people just where it's so clear that the thing they can see is up your nose. Do you know what the big problem is, man? Is that people don't take virtual meetings seriously. They don't. They, Like a virtual meeting is amazing. If someone were to tell me that for the rest of your life, you can only do virtual keynotes, I'd go like, yeah, I'd prefer that before physical keynotes. I freaking love virtual keynotes. Like out here where I'm pointing now, it's our studio. In our studio, we have 4 cameras, 2 settings, a 200-inch screen with people which pop up on Zoom meetings. I have a smoke machine, man. I have lasers, I have disco lights, I have music, I have a subwoofer. When I do like you've seen Tony Robbins' virtual meetings, right?
Yeah. Yes.
That is the standard by what corporate virtual meetings should be measured by. Not maybe what he did, but he did something that very few did. He took it seriously. And there are still companies in Silicon Valley, high tech, which still to this day don't take it seriously. Damn, it's so easy, man. Just get a good camera, good microphone, decent lighting, and a green screen. And hey, I'm going to tell you this one. This is scary. A study came out of France. And I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name, but is it Rajat or Rajat?
Yes, Rajat. Yeah.
Rajat, okay. So imagine this, Rajat, that you are recorded with 3 different kinds of microphones. A laptop microphone, a webcam microphone, and a professional microphone, like the one that you have, okay? In this study, then they asked people to listen to your voice and judge it by its character. It turned out that when people listened to your voice in a laptop microphone, they judged you as less likable and less credible than on the high-quality microphone. Now, that is scary because that means that you have managers, salespeople, leaders of these top companies, which are judged not by their character and personality and what it really is, but by the quality of their microphone because they didn't take it seriously and spend $200 to get a freaking good microphone. Yeah. Sorry, I am pissed off. You can hear that in my voice. This is just truly insulting to my business of communication and public speaking, the way people treat virtual meetings.
Many companies, so we at Present, we really believe in 100% remote environment, and we meet whenever we need. But many companies now are moving employees from working remotely to coming back to the office. And I wonder how much of that has to do with what you are saying, right? We are not taking all these virtual meetings seriously. And maybe if we invest a little bit more on virtual meetings, we can have the best of both worlds, right? Give employees the flexibility and freedom that they want, still have the impact that we are having. Maybe it's a self-inflicted wound that our remote meetings and remote discussions are not as effective. Maybe that's where you're going.
Absolutely. Spot on, man. Absolutely. I'm going to give some cred to Google here because Google is one of our clients and we've got loads of clients. And when COVID hit, Google was absolutely superior. Do you know what they did? All their top managers, they created this bespoke Google bag or was like small suitcase. And they sent it off to every manager at Google. It contained a high-quality camera, high-quality microphone, dual lights, and instructions on how to do the backdrop. So whenever we had a meeting with Google, it was, oh my God, this is good. Crystal clear image, crystal clear voice, beautiful backdrop, every single top manager at Google. And then, I'm not going to say any names, but literally any other IT company at that level, we logged into them and they were like, yes, hello, and it was dim lit, and it was like sucky microphone. You could barely hear what they were saying. It's sad, man. Sad.
Yeah. We the nose thing, we call it nostrils, dude. There's that many nostrils, dude, right? Because there are some people where you can see. I mean, and it's awkward to kind of tell them too that, dude, I can only see your nostrils. Right?
Why?
So,
why? Why would you do that?
Like you said, right? It happens a lot. So super interesting. So we talked about teams and individuals. A lot of our listeners, David, they are really learning the art and science of storytelling.
Awesome.
Right? So they're trying to get better at storytelling, both, and we think about in terms of the Greek logos, pathos, ethos, right? Can you talk about the logic? Can you talk about emotion? Can you appeal to your the ethical side of you? So maybe tell us a little bit about when people are storytelling instead of and engage with the audience, what happens to the brain systems? How does the brain get activated when you're not doing a dry presentation, but you're actually you're doing storytelling? And we're trying to
Yeah.
distinguish between kind of presenting slides versus business storytelling, and both are
Yeah.
two different things. And maybe you can tell us, how does the brain react when you're storytelling versus just reading out slides?
Cool. Yeah. Well, I guess there's two aspects to this. The first one is that the more activated the brain is, the more focused it is. Okay? So if you are like engaged in any activity which forces you to listen, to look, to think, to feel, to smell, to taste, you're absolutely immersed, in those kind of movies and events. So studies show that when you look at a PowerPoint, only primarily the visual cortex and the language regions of the brain is lit up. So imagine a Christmas tree lit up to 10%, maybe 20. That would be a boring Christmas, right? You would go like, why did you just light up the Christmas tree to 20%? Why didn't you light up the rest? Like, what's the point? But when you tell a story, so many parts of the brain are lit up, it's crazy. So you have the language areas, you have the visual areas, you have the auditory areas, you have the smell, taste areas, but you have also got a very interesting area which has got to do with motor functions, so movement. So as soon as you tell a story, it's like you lit up the entire Christmas tree, and it's so much more beautiful, and it is so much easier to be attentive. Now, so that's the first reason. You simply become more immersed and focused. The second reason is this. Can you tell me, Rayat, a purchasing decision that you have made recently which was not driven by a story?
I mean, I recently bought this shirt, and
That's nice, yeah.
it was thank you. It was an emotional decision because I was actually in the Los Altos Food and Wine Festival, and my wife was kind of looking at some art. My daughter was with me, and she looked at the shirt and she says, "Dad," she's 9. It's like, "Dad, this shirt will look nice on you." And so that was an emotional response. And I was like, "Look, if I wear it, my daughter's going to be happy, and maybe I look nice." So it was that story. It wasn't just what material it is and what's the fit. So 100% what you're saying is totally driven by a story.
Yeah. Yeah, and your story in this case was a simulation of the future, what you would look like if you bought it and how happy your daughter would be, right? So I challenge you and all listeners to this. Our brain perceives the world from either replaying stories of the past, simulating the future to understand the present. It doesn't do anything else. Everything it sees is narratives. When you're out driving and you're going to overtake a car, I do hope that you are using narratives where you're going like, if I overtake here, I will die. If I overtake here, I will die. If I overtake over there, I will survive. If I go up and talk to that person, this will happen. When this interview is over, I'm going to do this. We think in narratives all the time. But for some unknown reason, 28 years ago, PowerPoint was born. And today, we rely more on the idea of presenting bullets than telling stories. But we've been telling stories for something between 200,000 to 2 million years. Like there's proof that Homo erectus used narratives to describe, or rather, put it like this: the way that Homo erectus had culture and moved in this world, they must have been able to do narratives, which went something like this. If we take this log and we like punch holes in it and we take it up that coast, we should be able to go somewhere else. Like they should have been able to do narratives.
Yes.
So we've been doing that for 2 million years. PowerPoint for 28. In business situations, how do you think that looks? Is that like, does that resemble the evolution of how we understand information? No, it doesn't. No, 99% of corporate presentations is bullets, something we've been using for 28 years. So it's madly insane that you don't have at least one story every 10 minutes is my is my recommendation. Like when people do pitches or presentations.
Yeah.
At least, man.
Oh, amazing. No wonder, to use an analogy, most corporate meetings are like a Christmas tree that is 10% lit or 15% lit. And
it's like, where's the plug, man? Where's the plug?
people are bored out of their minds. All right. So, David, maybe we can move to the rapid fire section. So I have 5 questions for you.
Yeah.
You've not heard these before. And I'm just going to ask you a question or make a statement, and you just tell me what comes to your mind right away. Yeah?
Oh, my God. Mm-hmm.
All right. So what is one word you would use to describe effective storytelling?
One word?
One word.
Dopamine.
Dopamine. Love that. Okay. What is the biggest myth about body language?
Still one word?
No. Biggest myth. Yeah.
This is a weird reversed myth, but you know what? Most people don't believe it's important. They've read it, they've heard it, they talk about it, but they don't act like it.
What is your favorite way, David, to stay calm before a big presentation?
Brutally. Slow breathing patterns, slow movements, slow eye movements. The key word here is slow.
Slow. Okay. Perfect. What is a communication mistake that even experienced communicators make in the business setting?
They forget that it's not about themselves. It's always and forever about the people you speak to. Every single slide, every single word, every single example is for the people you speak to.
Yeah, no, well said. We've had guests, and we say it internally also that the audience is the hero. You are not the hero who'll save the audience. The audience is the hero, and it's about the audience. It's not about you. And even the word PowerPoint is unfortunate. It makes you feel that you have the power, when of course the power is with the audience. All right, last question. If there was one brain hack for instant confidence, David, you could give to people, what would that be?
Oh, I think it's the Oxytocin tip I gave you. Spend 2 minutes looking at something that makes you present, calm, and caring. Because in that state, you're a different kind of confident, but you are confident in that state more than the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I carry a picture of my daughter at my wallet, and I don't think I look at it enough. Maybe I should look at it more before we get into these meetings. So, David, thank you so much for your insights. Very, very engaging conversation. Is there anything we have not discussed, or any final thoughts you want to leave our listeners with? And also, where can they find you and learn more about you and your work?
Chikbamba, I'd say that if you get a lot of views on this, Rajat, we'll do it again, because this is just the 0.1% of everything. So there's so many more discussions we can have. But for now, I'll probably say this, that we've been talking about storytelling. Ask yourself, which is the most important story of all stories? And the answer is the story you tell yourself every day, because what we repeat, we become. So beware of the stories you tell yourself. Make sure they're hero stories of opportunity and not the opposite. And then secondly, where do you find me? LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. If you want to reach me, it's usually LinkedIn, which is the most efficient one. That's usually where I can get back to you if you're looking for a keynote or a coach or something like that. So yeah, have a look at those. And then the book High on Life, which you can find out in the US at the moment. So just search for that, or my name, David JP Phillips.
Awesome. David, thank you so much for spending time with us and joining us. Yes, we should absolutely do this again. Next week, we'll meet more incredible guests, and we'll continue to explore the question, what makes great storytelling great? Until then, thank you, everybody, and let's think deeply and speak simply.
Thanks for tuning in to Think Deeply, Speak Simply. This episode was brought to you by Present, your secret weapon for brilliant presentations. Visit present.ai to transform how you communicate. Until next time, keep thinking deeply and speaking simply.